shuyukh would solve this problem and dissolve this conflict. But we're making our best reasoning in the light of the available references and in the light of the benefit-risk ratio, والمصالح والمفاسد, which is a very considered methodology of deducing the ahkam in the Islamic Sharia, where the mujtahid, which obviously is not me, nor any of us, in order to reason, he has to put in front of his eyes in consideration the benefit-risk ratio, without compromising the main principles of the deen. I can assure you that our biggest problem, which kept us isolated even from the area which is permissible to integrate and mingle with the community, is simply because most of us, particularly, I would not be exaggerating if I say the Arab particularly, when they land here, they keep repeating the same statement, which is, I'm not staying here. I'm here for some time. Then, once I accomplish my goal, I'm out of here. How many times you have heard this statement? I would not be exaggerating if I say almost everybody thinks the same. But guess what? Neither do they leave, nor do they plan to stay permanently. So they are undecided. That's why when somebody is undecided, doesn't know whether he wants to leave or he's planning to stay for good, then he is hindered from accomplishing very important things to maintain your stay, or at least to prepare for your departure. Nevertheless, whether you're planning to stay or have already pre-made your mind to leave, you need to remember that the Prophet ﷺ gave an example that's related to the subject, but on a greater scale, in which he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا قَامَتِ السَّاعَةُ وَفِي يَدِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَسِيلًا فَإِنِ اسْتَطَاعَ أَنْ يَغْرِسْهَا فَلْيَفْعَلْ. We're not talking about leaving the United States and going back home now. We're talking about living the whole life. If the day of judgment is established, if you guys have not already, the sun is rising from the west, which is the major sign of the beginning of the occurrence of the day of judgment, normally people say, this is it, it's over, right? The Prophet ﷺ says, do not seize nor waste the opportunity of doing anything which may be useful, not necessarily for yourself, for others, even if it is the last moment in your life. And he gave an example that the bad ones would really reflect upon more. He said, if the day of judgment have started, إِذَا قَامَتِ السَّاعَةِ وَفِي يَدِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَسِيلًا, and you have a fasila, which is the baby date palm tree, because they do not plant the seed, rather they plant the baby date palm trees. So if you have a chance to dig out a hole and plant this fasila, do so. But, it's over. Why do so? Because you never know. If it is not useful nor beneficial for yourself, it will be useful for others. And when somebody has seen Umar ibn Khattab planting a tree, he said, it will take years before you'll be able to harvest its fruits. So he said, زرع آباؤنا فأكلنا ونزرع حتى يأكل أبناؤنا. I do not necessarily plant the date palm trees, which will take years to produce the dates, so that I can enjoy the fruits. No, not necessarily. How are we enjoying the fruits of the date palm trees now? Because our parents and forefathers have made the effort to plant them. So, it is our turn to plant so that our children would enjoy it as well. So one has to have this scope of not being selfish, not covering what's religious with what's cultural, then claiming that this is what the religion commands me to do, while it is exclusively cultural practices, and not impose personal views on the congregation, on the community at large, and not appoint yourself as a mujtahid, because al-ijtihad have its own conditions, which I do not think that any of us who are present in this country would meet even 10% of those conditions. So in order to resort to somebody who is a mujtahid to enable us to come to a conclusion or find an answer to serious questions like that, it would require also a person who have a full acknowledgement of the nature of the life here. So we will make our best, and we will refer to the statements of the previous imams, to the ahadith, to the verses, and so on. First of all, النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen. And then Yemen back then, which was a part of the peninsula, was a non-Muslim land, right? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that you are going to see people of Ahlul Kitab. They were Jews and Christians. فَادْعُهُمْ إِلَى لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. So establish the most important thing, which is the Tawheed. Invite them to the oneness of Allah. If they comply, if they agree to that, then inform them that Allah has ordained upon them 5 daily prayers. And if they agree and they respond to that, then inform them about the mandate of the zakat and the siyam and so on, in sequence. So the concept of the gradation in Islam is approved by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is a strategy that he himself has followed. For 13 years in Mecca, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not lift a finger, did not destroy the idols around the Kaaba. He used to go and contemplate and offer his prayers at night. Around the Kaaba there was 360 idols. How long did it take the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to clear the Kaaba from the idols? How long? 21 years. From the moment that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was appointed with the prophethood. Because everything has a time. Or otherwise he may make a foolish move, and it will result in what? A chaos or a disaster. And this is basically what happens from some of the fanatics, some of the illiterate and uneducated people, where sometimes I used to think these are made up stories. Somebody's trying to blow a plane, somebody's trying to do this and that. They do not look at the consequences, nor do they look at the legitimacy of doing things like that. Rather, they look at one thing. They are very narrow-minded. They think that there is a goal that I need to achieve, regardless what will be the consequences. We do not behave, brothers and sisters, out of our hawa or based on the opinion of any opinionated person, no matter how outspoken is that person. Rather, we are guided with rules and guidelines stemming from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If anyone can give a short answer to this question, Muslims in America, isolation or integration, in one word, he would not be a scholar. If anyone can say yes, integration and no isolation, he will be a liar. If anyone says no, only isolation and no integration, he will be an ignorant. So, everything is with a measure. Islam keeps balance. So there are areas where we have to mingle with the non-Muslims, whether in this society, which the overwhelming majority are non-Muslims, or in the Muslim societies where the minorities are non-Muslims. There is a strategy. There are goals, there are objects to be achieved, and keep in mind that goals do not justify the means. So we need to keep this golden rule in our mind. Goals do not justify the means. Not because you want to be elected in a big office, assuming that that will assist Muslims in a positive way.